Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from an inmate at the county jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2.
Well, hello there, Miss Lisa. How is your day going? Well, that's a good way to pass the time, locked up in there. Okay, all right. I have no complaints against that. Well, yeah, I do have a big issue with the way our children are being taught in school and the way families are being neglected. I think a family and communication with a family member and parents, especially dads, moms, their interaction, I think all of that stuff is important. Well, yeah. I mean, religion has a big part of it, and even the extended family, uncles, aunts, cousins, and yeah, community leaders as well. But it's good that you're talking to your niece like that. She needs to hear that kind of stuff. I think the impact of her aunt talking to her is a little better than forcing a teacher to do that. Right, right. School should be for the three R's. That people should go in there and learn basic skills of life. We don't need to be teaching them about gender or religion, and we certainly don't need to be teaching them about the wrong way to look at history. It's families can come up with their own conclusions, and if a family member is racist and this person wants the children to be racist, there's nothing we can do about that. We can't expect the school to step in the middle. And I would say when a person gets to college, there's a choice. People can choose to take classes that deal with history and psychology and religion. And after getting out of college or one of those technical schools or something, trade schools, they could make their own decision. And I really like that. It might not be the decision we want. Our children might not have the luxury of learning that taking a weapon and shooting a bunch of people is wrong from us. We might not be able to keep that away from them. But if they know all the alternatives, they know what the consequences are, if they talk to people that are directly involved, I think their decision will be a little easier to accept. Right, we should at least try. And we can't expect our children to be just like us. Like the old story of the preacher's daughter. Somebody you expect to be outstanding and proper and do all the right things, but winds up going to prison multiple times. You can overkill and you can undersell. Yes, good. Yeah, with your niece, you're letting her ask the questions and you're being open and honest with her. And so that's how's that not going to help? Okay. Yeah, I know, but don't put
You have
yourself
60
down.
seconds remaining.
It's not your fault that you had these bad events happen in your life, but you can do something about them. You can give positive feedback to your niece, and then you can take classes and you can work to reach your goals. And hopefully, you'll set goals that are not necessarily easy to reach, but are possible to reach. Okay, good. And I'll reach out. I'll do what I can on this side. Well, good. I am so glad that you're doing that and you stay
You have
positive
30 seconds remaining.
and go out and make an impact on the world. Leave the world a better place than when you came in. I know, it's tough. especially these days. But it's at least worth the try. All right, good. Thanks for the call, and I'll talk to you later. Take care of yourself. You got it. Goodbye. Welcome to AQS Inmate Call. I am your host, Joel Wilborn. And in this episode, I'll emphasize something that I'm a big proponent for, and that's educating folks. It doesn't matter what the age. A person could be 92 years old. They're not too old to learn anything. Now, as far as growing up, it could be there are certain folks out there that are just too young to learn some things. But you really don't know until you work with these children if they're too young or too old. And I would say parents should take a more active role in upbringing of their children. We've got people out there that just, I don't know if they have something against the NRA or if they have something against the industry or people hunting and possessing guns, anything like, I don't know what it is. Could be different reasons. Changing laws and eliminating something that's out there already, like saying we're going to get rid of all pistols. Yeah, right. You can make a law against pistols, they're still going to be out there. And the ones who start using them, just like this bumper sticker say, are going to be the criminals. Because people who commit serial killings and mass murders, they're not the folks that are outstanding citizens, the heroes of the world. They're the people that just have their reasons to inflict harm like that. And they're going to do it no matter what. Unless we try to stop it before it happens. And telling a criminal not to commit a crime is just, let's be realistic. I like these fantasy worlds that people live in, but you got to be real. In order to fix these problems, you got to be real. And a school shouldn't teach things that belong to the family. Gender identification belongs with the family. And the school should just teach to accept whatever the student wants. If a student walks in there and says, I was born a boy, but I identify as a girl, fine. Let the school accept that. Not say, well, let's go through ways to change you, or let's give you books that relate to that. That's up to the family. They'll just more or less nod their head and, okay, have a seat, and our next assignment is history. And if a child comes with racist stuff, as long as they don't commit any crimes. If a person goes in there and says, I don't like Hispanic people, and then starts beating up, assaulting, stealing from folks that are in the class that have that distinction, that should be a give me. Violating the law, violating other people's rights is wrong. And if a family teaches that, we need to get the family members in there and say, we're not going to have a student in this class that believes committing crimes against other folks is okay. That I see as being a school issue, but not gender identification, not whether or not a person likes certain groups. Even if a young lady goes in there and she doesn't like boys, doesn't like men, as long as she doesn't commit a crime, as long as she doesn't violate a right, then that's something that the school just has to accept. And there's some things like maybe they could offer after school programs or special classes that the parents sign up for that deal with sexual acts. Maybe the proper way to prevent pregnancies, or the proper way to handle and store a firearm. If the parents approve that, let them go. If the parents disapprove that, don't force it on the child. And if a child wants to join, let's say a study hall with Catholics, during a break in school or after school, they should be allowed to do that with parental consent. Why keep the parents out of this? And parents that don't want to participate, don't want to give their input or something in there, maybe they should be looking at another school. And instead of forcing this on the children, we need to force it on the parents. They are a part of the learning process. And I wouldn't want my daughter coming home saying that I want to get a sex change. My teacher was telling me that that's best because of the way I think. That would be scary. And I would immediately want to talk to the school. So if we want to stop mass shootings, if we want to stop this crime wave, and when you look at videos of children beating up other children, where are they getting this? The schools are not stopping it, but they seem to be allowing it and promoting it. Maybe something that they didn't do on purpose, but that's the way it's coming out. And we also put up some rules on there that you can't have an armed guard or something in the school, or teachers can't have weapons. We don't need to look at everything on a national standpoint. It's not the federal government's job to do all this stuff. It should be local, and a school should be very local within the county, not necessarily the state, and certainly not the nation, but the district that the people live in. And those who are really involved with their children and want their children to grow up in a safe environment should do their part. We can't expect other people to do our job for us. We can't expect other people to raise our children, and we certainly can't expect that from the schools. They're under enough pressure as it is. And when people who are in prison go out and talk to folks in high school or elementary school or even in community centers, I think it has a positive impact. I've talked to a lot of folks that involved in that, and there's some good feedback on it. One of the people I interviewed, he's currently locked up in prison. His name is Damar Nelson. He has a podcast that he does from prison, and it's called SALT, SALT. I highly recommend that podcast. You can go to Spotify and search for it. Just listen to one or two. And if you have children, have them listen to it. And he emphasizes the importance of parents, especially dads. These folks go out and they commit this crime, and the child is the one who suffers because dad's locked up. And then going to school and having that reputation, your dad attempted murder or robbed a convenience store, that's tough on a child. And it does have an effect. You can't just look at a situation like this and think it doesn't affect anybody. Cammie, I did an interview with her, and she was talking about the importance of her mother. Her mother was heavily involved in illegal drugs. As far as I know, she still is. And Cammie overcame that, but she looks up to her mother. And she wants her mother to get away from that. And one of the reasons she didn't want to get out of prison because she didn't want to go back home to her mom, who was using drugs, and then she would go off and use the drugs. And she felt that the only way I can get away from him is to stay in prison. It was tough to convince her to get out, but she did. And we had a very nice interview, and she does a lot of stuff on Facebook and TikTok that reflects that. Another person I work with, Autumn, she does the same thing. She is fighting every day to stay clean and sober. And when somebody says, great job, keep up the good work, or congratulations, or we're proud of you, she'll not just like it, she'll put a little heart there because it means a lot to her. And she's an adult. She has a child of her own. And I can imagine her daughter growing up to follow in her footsteps and wind up getting addicted and going to prison. I can see that, because something would happen and maybe it would get tough, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think her mom is going to be a part of her life, especially since she lost the child before. And I like how the folks are taking their life's lessons and applying it forward, paying it forward. What distinguishes us from the creatures of the world is we teach our children. We can teach people. If you have a dog and you want that dog to chase after a frisbee, you'll teach the dog to chase after a frisbee, and the dog will do that to please you. So for the dog, it's a win-win situation. You get pleased because the dog's doing what you want. The dog gets pleased because it's doing what you want. But you're not going to see a monkey teach another monkey to chase a frisbee or a ball or to wash its hands before eating. But you will see an infant get taught how to use a fork and a spoon, or how to turn off the TV or dial on the phone, because we teach them. We have that ability. It rises us above the creatures, the other living beings on this planet. And so to think that we, by instinct, learn not to kill people. I mean, that's an animal. You know, a beast like a cow knows not to go off and kill another cow just because it stepped into its territory. Cows eat vegetation, and that's their instinct. They know to do that. They don't need to send anything off to a lab and see if it's safe. If it's something that smells good, take a bite, tastes good, they'll eat it. Not a lot of thought goes into it, but humans is a different story. The learning process is extremely important. If we downgrade that, if we're lacking in that, then crime is going to go up. Because usually when we try to figure things out on our own, we do the wrong thing. It's just something that happens. Not everybody is going to make the right decision all the time. You could have a prayer, you could have a grandmother, or even a neighbor that will give the person some peace, help the person to feel good about the decisions, or lead them in the right direction and away from what could possibly get them into a world of hurt. Our life isn't about not getting caught. It's just a matter of not doing it in the first place. It's just like the old joke, you know, when the woman goes to the doctor and says, it hurts whenever I do this. And the doctor says, well, then don't do it. It's not good to promote crime. If you see AR-15 on the news, the kids look at that and think, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get an AR-15. As I said in the previous episode, there are weapons out there that are more destructive than an AR-15. But because AR-15 is so famous, that's the one everybody wants to get. And that's kind of like a double-sided sword. It has one good point, and that's that we know how much social media, mainstream media can influence folks. So instead of promoting weapons of mass destruction, let's promote ways to overcome the conflicts that we're having. If we're suicidal and we want to take people down with us before killing ourselves, we have in the U.S. a suicide line. And we shouldn't look down on people that seek assistance like that. I would rather have a person sit before a group and say, I had to call the suicide line because I didn't feel my life was worth it. But after I hung up, I felt better about things. And now I don't want to take my life. And if we work together, instead of restricting people, just allowing people to be free, do what you want to do, but this is the consequence. This is what's going to happen if you decide to go down this path. Especially the folks that say, this is what happened when I went down that path. I thought that getting into drugs was quick and easy money. I didn't realize that there would be people that would die. I didn't realize that folks would come after me and do drive-by shootings. There's things that are not glamorized in these gangster movies and these movies that document crime. There's behind-the-scenes stuff. One of the folks I work with sold weapons on the black market, and he feels that the government set him up to lock him away for murder. And you look at it, it's not far-fetched. It does make sense, but you're not going to see that depicted on these news magazines or in social media. You're just going to see all these things that are the result. And we have the means to put an end to this. It's just going to take some time. We have to be patient. I think that's a big thing we need to teach people. Be patient. Know that life is a learning process. We teach, we learn, we make mistakes. And then we regroup. We fall down, we stand up again. We can do this. And it's not going to be by ourselves. Well, I hope you go out, talk with your children, talk with your relatives and your friends, your family, and look at something with a positive thing. Tune into the SALT podcast. Go to my YouTube channel, the Joel Wilborn channel, and listen to some of those interviews. And let's work together to stop this. Let's share advice. And you'd be surprised at the results. It does start with looking in the mirror. Thanks for tuning in. Go out and have yourself a wonderful day and make some fantastic memories for tomorrow.